Well, 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 well. We now live in a world where Batman has fought Superman. And this is going to be a discussion of Batman versus Superman Dawn of Justice. There are a few things that I want to preface here. One, there will be spoilers in this. So if you haven't seen the movie yet, I literally just got home from watching the movie. I picked an 11:30 showing. The movie is 2.5 hours long. After all the previews and everything, I got out a little after 2 p.m. Pacific time, and it is now a little bit before 3. So literally, I just got home. I picked a theater a little bit further away than my house. That way, I could actually pick the seat beforehand. And they were recliner seats. They served you food. They gave you alcohol. It was a great time. Cheers to Regal Cinemas. One thing that I thought was also awesome was getting to see John 3.0, the epic voice guy. I don't know what he goes by. It's John Bailey. We all know John. He's a friend of mine. It was awesome seeing him in a Regal Crown Club, their like rewards program thing. He did a preview commercial thing before the movie. It was hilarious seeing him in that. So shout out to you, John. Wonderful job. You are now officially bigger than me because you are on the big screen. But there will be spoilers in this. I find it always redundant when people make videos that are spoiler free. I mean, you do a spoiler free video, then you do a spoiler video. You're just basically trying to draw people in to watch a non spoiler video. You're just trying to grab more views. So I'm going to be very blunt and very honest in this. But you can't even have a non-spoiler discussion about something and be like, I really liked Jeremy Irons' portrayal of Alfred in this, and then you have to tell why you did, and the why in of itself is basically a spoiler. You're ruining it for the audience that's going to go and see the performance. So anytime that you talk about something, unless you are just completely stupidly vague and then it's a completely pointless video, there's going to be spoilers in it. So I'm just going to go balls out and tell you guys. I'm also probably going to drink a lot of tea while I'm doing this. Go Red Wings. Hoping for 25 years consecutive in the playoffs. So I'm going to preface a few things. Like I said, spoilers. So if you haven't seen the movie, feel free to stop watching. If you don't care about being spoiled, feel free to continue watching it. If you haven't, come back and watch and join the discussion, because I'd like to obviously have a dialogue about that. That's why I'm doing this. But I'm going to preface this by saying that I wasn't a super huge fan of Man of Steel. Not that I didn't like it. A lot of people are like, well, you didn't like it for this reason, you didn't like it for that reason. I got popcorn stuck in my teeth. That's annoying. I liked about 2/3, honestly, of the Man of Steel movie. So if we're doing a rating kind of thing, like 66, I gave it a 66 out of 100. So I mean, I really liked it. The part that I didn't really like was the end with the mass destruction in Metropolis. Yes, this is a different version of Superman, and obviously in Batman v Superman, it's a different version of Batman. But at no point in time, really, in the history of Superman, would he have such blatant disregard for the safety of an entire city. He would have thrown Zod into a abandoned area. He would have thrown him into space. He would have done something. Would have fought on the moon, something like that. Now, obviously, these are all my opinions. You're free to disagree. That's perfectly fine. But that was my biggest problem with the film. I'm sitting there watching it. And then at the end, when Zod was about to kill that little family, it's like now all of a sudden Superman cares. He's throwing him around from building to building. Buildings are toppling. Thousands of people are no doubt dying. And he's sitting there and Zod's about to laser beam him. I had zero problem with Superman killing Zod. A lot of people do have a problem with it. I'm old enough to remember that in the comics, Well, I shouldn't say that. I got into the comics because of the Death of Superman saga, but after that happened, naturally I go back and I learn more about it. Superman did kill Zod initially in the comic books. It was that decision to kill Zod that made him decide to never kill again. It was essentially his decision, or he came to the decision not to kill again because it was too easy to do. He could too easily kill everybody else. And I mean, that's the long and short of it. But he felt so bad killing Zod that he really decided to restrain himself. And it could be easy to wipe people out, wipe the bad guys out. But that would be the easy route to go. So Superman really doesn't do that. Now, so I had no problem with him killing Zod in the movie. I had a problem with him being so worried about Zod killing that family. It's like Superman is always the Boy Scout. He's always aware of his surroundings. He's aware of the people that are there. And he just completely became unaware of the entire surroundings in the city around him. So that was a part of the film that I really didn't care too much for. Now, the battle was there, initially, you had the world generator or whatever they called it, it was there. So it's like, I understand why some of that needed to be in Metropolis, but the rest kind of just bothered me. So that being said, I did not have overly gigantic expectations about Batman versus Superman. It was one of those things where I just came off of watching the Christopher Nolan Batman movies, which I do really like. Dark Knight Rises is still one of my favorite Batman movies. I know a lot of people don't like it. I liked what they did with Bane up until the very, very end. So again, things change and everything, but so I liked that version of Batman. What I will say, going into Batman versus Superman, I liked how, first of all, Ben Affleck as Batman, Batman and Bruce Wayne. I've always said that in order to play that part properly, you have to be able to both play Bruce Wayne and Batman. That is why I always liked Michael Keaton as Batman. I thought he did a really good job. I thought that towards the end of the trilogy for Christopher Nolan, Christian Bale started doing a better job as both characters. I think he started out as a very strong Bruce Wayne, and as like the Dark Knight Rises came around, he became more of that Batman detective that I liked. So there was a progression with him, as you would expect. I mean, Batman Begins was him beginning as Batman, so I liked that progression. Hi, Tux. So what I will say is that I feel that Ben Affleck was kind of a natural progression of that same kind of character. Now, it's left fairly ambiguous at the end of Dark Knight Rises. Everybody thinks that Batman died. We know that he didn't. We know that the symbol is still there and all that kind of stuff. So there's kind of like this gap. And the producer of, Christopher Nolan is the producer of The Man of Steel and Batman vs. Superman. So his input is still there from what he did with Christian Bale. So there's like a gap there. And it's kind of, you're kind of left wondering what happens from the end of Dark Knight Rises and here. It is revealed that Bruce Wayne exists in the time of Man of Steel. So, I mean, we've seen it, I'm like, Wayne Industry, or whatever, all that stuff is, there's Easter eggs in Man of Steel. So, so you could, what I liked is that it's left ambiguous in that gapping. So it's like, this Batman could still be that same Batman from that, the trilogy. It's a different actor, but it could still be that same Batman. He's older, he's wiser, he is more that detective, and I actually really, really liked Ben Affleck as Batman. I think a lot of people, I'm seeing a lot of people say it. I think a lot of critics of it are going to be working very hard to take their foot out of their mouth. Like I said, I remember a time, it's come up fairly recently, but I remember it because I was there in 1989. A lot of people being crazy about the fact of Michael Keaton being Batman, like he can't do it, and he nailed it in my opinion. And I really do feel that Ben Affleck really did nail both parts, Bruce Wayne and Batman. I think he did a terrific job in this role. He looked the part. He just he brought it. I really, a lot of people don't like him because of what he did in Daredevil, and I'm actually one of those people that enjoyed the Daredevil movie. Was it the best movie ever? No. Is the Daredevil TV series better? Yes. But I mean, I didn't think it was as abysmal as everybody makes it out to be. It's a popcorn flick. But I really feel that much like Ryan Reynolds redeemed himself with Deadpool, I think Ben Affleck is going to do that with this new Batman versus Superman movie. What I will say is, in terms of my rating for this, I do like this movie. I did like it. I'm gonna give it roughly a 3/4, so like 75 out of 100. Whereas the original was like 66 out of 100. This one I'm going to give. I'm looking at my phone. My wife is texting me. I'm gonna give it a 75 out of 100. I thought it was better than the Man of Steel movie. Now the things that I didn't particularly like, I know I'm kind of jumping around. I don't have anything prepared to talk about. I didn't particularly. There was a lot, and this was one thing that I was worried about going in. They are setting up a Justice League movie. That was a concern of mine, in that they were putting all these other characters in it. I'm glad that there really wasn't a lot of that in the movie. There's literally like one scene where Gal Gadot, sorry, whatever. I'm doing it. I'll talk about that here in a minute. But when Wonder Woman is looking over some files and things like that, it's a brief. It's like a minute long scene. It's not very long. So I liked that it was shortened, but there did seem to be a couple different plots that are going on in this movie. I think they were connected decently, but they could have done a better job with it. For example, Batman, Bruce Wayne. When I first saw, going back to Ben Affleck, when I first saw the very first trailer for this, and I saw Ben Affleck as Bruce Wayne running into a building collapsing. He's running towards the danger and not running away from it. I looked at that and I was like, he got it. That's what you need to do. As Bruce Wayne, that's it. And from that point on, I had no concerns about Ben Affleck being Bruce Wayne. I really didn't. A lot of people did, but it was honestly a relief when I saw that bit of footage from the movie. So he's running in, he witnesses people dying, he witnesses the carnage, and he's watching in Metropolis. He goes there because of the devastation that's happening in Man of Steel. So I like how they went back to the original movie. You don't get a chance to do that very often, to give a different perspective on a movie already done, and they did that. I thought they did a really good job with it, and you got a sense of what it was like as a bystander watching this battle happen in the sky around you. I thought that was really well done. And Bruce is running towards the danger, and it was one of those things where you understand why Bruce, at that point in time, why this is Batman versus Superman, why Bruce has a problem with Superman. He's a super-powered alien that could destroy the entire world with literally a blink of an eye. So you understand that. So you have that plot kind of thing in there. You got another plot where Superman is facing the ramifications of his actions in Man of Steel. There are some people that love him as a hero. There's some people that hate him. And the people that hate him are the ones that think that they are at risk by having him be here on this planet. And honestly, you know, at that point, you can see that Bruce kind of fits in that category where he thinks that Superman shouldn't be here. Do we need a Superman? So you have that plot point kind of going on. You got the Lex Luthor aspect going on. Let's talk about Jesse in this. I'm not very familiar with him as an actor. I don't know anything that I've seen him in. It's one of those things where I am not a big movie buff, so it's one of those things where I'm like, on it. But I do have in my mind a image, an idea of how Lex Luthor should be portrayed. And I don't think, for me, Jesse Eisenberg did a good job portraying that. Now, that's not to say that his performance was bad. His performance was actually really good. He was that character. He's just not the character that I particularly identify with as Lex. Honestly, through a lot of it, and this is how I felt when I saw it in the trailer. He's jittery. He's you know, all over the place. He lacks a focus that I feel that Lex normally has. Now, Lex is a psychopath. He is a crazy person, but I think that, you know, Jesse Eisenberg's portrayal is a little bit more crazy. And I'm being visited by Super Tugs. Go back down there. He wants to love me. It honestly, it reminded me like of the Joker a little bit too much. You know, like, you know, it's like, you know, when Joker said that, you know, he's like a crazed dog chasing after an ambulance or whatever, he wouldn't know what to do if he caught it. Cat hair. That's kind of how I felt about Lex Luthor in this. So his performance, Jesse Eisenberg's performance, was really good. It just wasn't what I like as Lex Luthor. Now, it's a completely different take, honest, from what I've gathered on Lex Luthor. I'm not up to date on any of the current comics or anything like that, so I don't know if that's kind of how he is. But it's one of those things where I just, like I said, I wasn't a huge fan of it. But you have Lex Luthor's kind of plot in there as well. Now, moving on to Wonder Woman, Gal Gadot. And yeah, I said this earlier. Her name is not Gal Gadot. It's not Gal Gadot. It's Gal Gadot. Like boat, but with a D. She's Israeli. She's not French. So the T is not silent. It's Gadot. That's how... I've seen a lot of non-spoiler reviews, and they all get her name wrong. So I feel bad for her. Hopefully this makes people get her name right. But Gal Gadot, you know, was... Her plot was in there as well. And her plot seemed to be mostly trying to, like, eliminate evidence of her existence in it. There's a picture that she's looking for that Bruce Wayne finds first, and it's a picture of her in the Wonder Woman garb from like 100 years ago. Like I said, spoilers, right? But it was really kind of strange. Hold on, okay, sorry. I got distracted for a second. well, with the way that, so the character was very limited in what the scope of the overall theme of the movie was. Her presence left me kind of like, why is she really here, kind of thing. She's looking for a picture. I mean, it has been revealed. She is Gal Gadot is working on a standalone Wonder Woman movie, and I'm hoping that kind of the threads tie into that a little bit more obviously. But we're gonna have to wait and see. But she really didn't have much in terms, of things to say in the film itself. She didn't have a lot of lines. The action at the end of the movie with her was phenomenal. I thought that was really very well done, very impressive. It really showed the power of Wonder Woman. I did like how, and she was going to avoid it all. She was going to just fly away and leave, and she's sitting there on an airplane watching the carnage, and she gets up and, to walk away, and I liked how, there was kind of a nod to her actual, Wonder Woman is kind of like the name that she's given. Diana Prince is her identity. And as she's walking off the plane, the lady's like, Miss Prince, Miss Prince. I just thought that was kind of like, yeah, they worked her name in there. That's kind of cool. But, I mean, I think a lot of people may have a problem with her because she was hyped up a lot more, I think, for this movie, and she wasn't in it all that much. What she was in there for, I think, was great. I think she served her purpose very nicely. And at the end of the film, her and Bruce are talking, and they're talking about getting together the other people that are like her, Aquaman, Flash, Arrow, all these, the Justice League people. So I think that her performance was very well done, but very minimal in the film itself. What else? That's really it. In terms of the performances, the action. So there's a lot of plots in it, and I think they tied them decently. But like I said, I think they could have did a little bit better of a job. The element of Batman really kind of despising Superman, going as far as figuring out ways to destroy him, even though it was really Lex Luthor that was pulling the strings without Bruce Wayne even knowing it. That was actually really interesting. It definitely showed the thought process of Lex in this. But the resolve for that hatred really came in the fact that, at least from what I looked at, a lot of people say that, well, it just stopped. He just started liking him. I really think that what triggered it for him, obviously, Martha is the name of Bruce's mom and Superman's mom, or Clark Kent's mom. And the whole fight with Superman is brought about because Lex Luthor does pull a Joker and makes Superman have to make a decision. Lex Luthor, I didn't particularly like Lex Luthor finding out that Superman is Clark Kent. That I thought was a little bit cliche of sorts. But I understand why they did it. They ended up taking, I think they could have did it with Lois Lane, and they didn't have to drag in, Clark Kent's mom. But, it is what it is. Like I said, I think they could have did a little bit better job in that various arc. But as Batman is about to kill Superman, Superman is sitting there saying, to save Martha. And immediately that registers in Batman and Bruce Wayne's mind. He's like, why did you say that name? And it was, revealed. Lois Lane comes in. That's his mother. Martha's his mother. And it was like at that point that, not so much that, our parents have the same name. It was, for me, it was like Bruce Wayne, it connected to Bruce Wayne that Superman has a mom. It gave him a human side. The whole time it was Superman's this alien that doesn't belong here, that doesn't care about us. And here was Superman about to be killed, and he's telling him to save his mother. And I think that's what flipped the switch for Bruce. And I think that they played that very, very well. I liked that resolve for that angle right there. The resolve for Gal Gadot's angle for it really came in that having her conversation with Bruce Wayne. She was going to leave. She wanted to erase all... It's like she wanted to erase all traces of her and leave this planet. Go back to Amazonia. And, just leave. Go back to Paradise Island and everything. And it was Bruce that was like, we need to come together. There's good that is still in this world. And I think that's what touched her. And obviously they're going to come together and form the Justice League. Lex Luthor's angle. He does not like there being a god, so to speak, on Earth. And he sets up Batman to try to kill him. Sets up Batman to try to kill Superman. Gives him all the tools basically necessary to do it. But he has a backup plan. The mind is working, with Lex. And he essentially takes Zod and mixes him with his DNA and creates Doomsday. Now, we knew Doomsday was going to be in the movie. We saw that in the trailer. In the 90s, I was lured in to my love of comics by the death of Superman. And that Doomsday became... There's a garbage truck going out. Doomsday became the big bad guy in my mind, and one of my favorite characters, period. I liked what they did with Doomsday, actually, quite a bit. I was very, very nervous with it because he's a beloved character of mine. But I thought that they did a very good job with it in showing the level of progression with his powers. That's something that Doomsday was built around. That Doomsday started out as a smaller creature and was sent out and was killed over and over and over again. And then they would bring him back. Kryptonians would do this. They would bring him back. They would revive him. They would make him stronger. And he would learn how to survive that previous attack. So you couldn't kill him the same way twice. Essentially, they did it hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times to the point where he became super powerful, and they had to, this planet, the people here had to get rid of him. They send him into space, he lands on Earth, etc., etc. We know now he escapes, and now he comes across Superman. So I think that they showed that very nicely in the fact that he got stronger. There was metamorphosis times in the fight between him, and this is where Wonder Woman showed up. Wonder Woman comes back out. She leaves the plane. She comes out, and she aids Superman, Batman, and herself work to take down Doomsday. And it was, like I said, I was worried about it, but after watching it, I was like, they did a really good job with it. He seemed indestructible. It was Superman sacrificing his life to kill Doomsday. Much like the comics, he knew that he was going to have to do something like that. And yes, Superman does die in this movie. Anybody who follows the comics knows that doesn't stay the case. And at the end of the movie, there's a brief, shot of what you can only ascertain that he does survive. Doomsday is supposedly dead, although, again, in the comics, he doesn't actually die. Nobody really dies in the comics. Um, but I was very happy with how they handled Doomsday in the film. Much better, honestly, than how I felt they handled Bane in The Dark Knight Rises. I felt that they got Doomsday pretty good. Um, it was definitely something that I enjoyed. One thing that I did like about this, that in my mind, they fixed from the Man of Steel, is the fighting between Doomsday. It was, for the most part, very localized to a basically deserted area. There was a whole scene where the United States government thinks that they can, Superman's taking him up into space, and the U.S. government thinks that they could use a nuke to kill him. That ends up not being the case. It ends up just making them stronger. But, it seemed like they were trying to mitigate casualties, collateral damage, I guess. And I thought they did a better job in this movie than they did in the Man of Steel movie. Far better, honestly, far better than what they did in the Man of Steel movie. So that was a huge improvement, in my opinion. Like I said, if I gave Man of Steel a 66 out of 100, I'm giving Batman vs. Superman 75 out of 100. It makes me excited to see Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman in her standalone movie. It makes me excited to see Ben Affleck again as Batman. I want to see more of him as Batman. I just thought that was really very good. Jeremy Irons, yes, he did do a good job as Alfred. I think, all Alfreds are really good. And they, people are saying, well, it really reminds me of that Batman animated series version of Alfred, where he's kind of witty and going tongue-in-cheek with Bruce. Every version of Bruce Wayne has done that. Michael Caine did it. All these characters, they all do it. But one thing, I do still have a problem listening to Jeremy Irons give a very poignant speech and not hearing Scar from The Lion King. It's like that, because that was my first exposure to Jeremy Irons. He did the voice of Scar in the Disney animated Lion King movie. So that's all I hear now. I hear Scar, and it's kind of weird. He did a terrific job, though. He did a terrific job. The action was really very good. It was, paced decently, I thought. It was definitely a longer movie, a little over 2.5 hours. So I think that in general, like I said, they tied up their loose ends and things like that fairly decently. There are things that they could have did a better job with, I do think. But all in all, I was very happy with the movie. And I like I said, I went in with very low expectations on this. And I really feel that they did a really, really very good job on it. Superman is, kind of what it is. I don't know how I still feel about Henry as him. Henry Cavill. It's a different take on Superman. He's a little bit darker. He's a little bit edgier. But my impression was still what it was after watching Man of Steel. That really didn't change. My opinion on him didn't change all that much. Good or bad. I thought that was good. I thought that seeing him wrestle with his place here was good. I thought he did a pretty decent job with it. But all in all, I did think that it was a very solid movie. I was like I said, I was I was against it. Well, not really against it. I just didn't have much expectations for it, I guess. So, what am I? Oh, 35 minutes rambling now. But let me know what you guys think on this. Obviously, several of you probably haven't seen the movie yet. Several of you probably already have. So, like I said, there are going to be spoilers in this. I should have said that probably more at the beginning to really warn you guys. But I was happy with it. I was legit happy with this film. And I want to see more. I really do. I want to see what else we can get and go from there. So, I hope you guys enjoyed the movie. Join the discussion. Let's get talking about it. And that's about it. I can't think of anything else really to say. Yeah, so I'll end it there. Thanks everybody for spending the past 35 minutes with me. And until next time, I'll talk to you guys later. Have a great weekend. And yeah, bye.